welcome back to my channel and welcome to my first trimester recap. It's my second pregnancy for those of you who are new here. I already have a daughter who is 2 years old. Her name is Michaela and I'm pregnant with a baby boy. So today I will certainly be comparing two of those pregnancies, how those first trimesters were going for me when I was pregnant with my daughter, and how was it for me now when I'm pregnant with a boy, with my son. It's still so unreal for me to say that I'm gonna have a son. So I know that there are women who experience different symptoms in the first trimester or throughout their whole pregnancy and they end up having the same gender, but there are also a lot of women who swear that they knew because of the symptoms that they were having a different gender. So I love to watch those videos when I did not know who I'm having, and I hope you enjoy this too. So let's begin. Also, if you're new, welcome. First of all, it's so nice to have you here. My name is Karyna. I'm a full-time mom, and here on my channel I share my experience, ideas, tips and tricks to try and make motherhood and fatherhood just a bit easier on you. I do videos on multiple motherhood topics, and if this sounds interesting, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon. I do post every single Thursday, but now I also do bonus videos here and there, so make sure to enable all YouTube notifications so that you don't miss out on my new videos. I wrote down my symptoms in my computer here because I'm using my phone to film, and I have been logging them into my Flow app. I love that app to track my periods, to make notes. It's FLO. I think I mentioned it on my channel before, but I wrote them down here, so I'm gonna be looking at my computer a little bit and talking you through all of them and comparing those symptoms to my previous pregnancy. Also, I'm gonna start from 4 weeks pregnant. If you want to know about my earliest pregnancy symptoms before the big fat positive, before my missed period, I have a separate video on that. I will have it linked up here and in the description below. But let's begin with the first week after my missed period, about 4 weeks pregnant, and I still was feeling great, but I have been having a lot of lower back pain and a lot of lower belly pain, cramps, pulling sensations, and sometimes they were quite intense. When for an hour or two, I was feeling very intense contractions in my back. Like, I'm the person who has back labor, at least that's what happened with my daughter. I only gave birth once, but that's what happened. Maybe because of the placement of my uterus, it's supposedly tilted back a little bit. I could compare them maybe to having my period, or like being on my first day of my period sometimes. I wouldn't say that it was concerning for me because I've experienced that first time with Michaela as well. So that was the first week, and that was pretty much the only symptom I had. Well, two symptoms, the pain in my lower back and my lower belly as well. Then in about a week, I would say, after my missed period, but all of those numbers with weeks and days post-ovulation, they're inaccurate because as you might know, I had irregular periods and I was still breastfeeding my daughter, so I really just assumed that I was about 1 week after my missed period when I started getting nauseous. With my first pregnancy with Michaela, I woke up feeling extremely sick, extremely nauseous, and all of those smells, every smell in my house, I could sense. This time around, we were actually on the last day of our Florida trip. I have a vlog from that vacation, and that's when I started noticing weird things. In the morning, that was actually the day when we were driving back, I did not like my coffee in the morning. Like, I didn't want to drink it, and I wouldn't say that it made me nauseous or I couldn't eat or I vomited or anything. No, it just was weird. But then when we arrived home, I was so exhausted, and of course I thought it's just from traveling. I was just hoping and praying that I'm not gonna get as nauseous as I was in my first pregnancy. So I took a nap, and then after I woke up from that nap, that's when it started for me. Like, I started feeling completely different. Like, I was sick, I was nauseous, everything smelled bad, but it was not as intense as my first time. So I still thought that it is yet to come, but spoiler alert, this pregnancy nausea and exhaustion was much easier on me than the first time around. So with my baby girl, well, she's not a baby anymore, but I want to call her baby still, at least until this baby arrives, please. So with Michaela, I had extreme nausea, but I know that there are women who are experiencing much worse symptoms that I did. I have vomited a couple of times with Michaela. And by the way, I actually have a whole first trimester recap of my first pregnancy. That is my very first video on this channel, and I'm definitely awkward on camera there, but if you want to watch it, I'll have it linked up here. So I was extremely nauseous. I vomited a couple of times, but I think the worst part of the first trimester was exhaustion and feeling completely unmotivated and even miserable. I did not want to do anything. I did not have any energy in me to even stand up and take a shower. The first 2 weeks since it started with Michaela were very intense. Then gradually it started to become better and better, but still, I'm so grateful that this time around it was maybe like 3 times less intense than with Michaela. I still was exhausted and I still was nauseous and I had aversions, was still able to function, and especially now that I have a toddler to take care of, that was my biggest concern. I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I am the one who takes care of her most of the time. I don't have much help. How am I gonna care for her? How am I gonna feed her? How am I gonna bath her? Like, that's how it felt to me when I was going into this pregnancy. But I have been so blessed with feeling okay to do at least those little normal things, and I have even been keeping up with my YouTube channel. I kept on filming 1 video a week, and that was great. I felt so lucky. So about aversions and foods, my first pregnancy with my daughter, I lost weight in the beginning of my pregnancy. I lost about 8 pounds. That was a lot. That was noticeable. And this time I haven't lost anything because I've been eating just fine. I've been eating almost the same portions. Yes, I couldn't eat some things, or a certain day I would eat only one type of food, but the amount of food I ate was the same. With Michaela, sometimes I couldn't eat anything almost the whole day. So this pregnancy, I'm expecting to get much heavier than I did with her because I did not lose the weight in the beginning, and I'm gaining from my starting point just up. And I actually weighted more than with Michaela, about 4 pounds more. But that's okay, that's okay. We're gonna take care of that postpartum. So yes, I've been eating fine, and I guess that what gave me energy as well, and that what helped me to don't be so nauseous, because that's the weird part. Like, you can't eat anything, but you're getting even more nauseous because you're hungry. That's crazy. This pregnancy, I also noticed that it was hard for me to drink liquids, especially during and right after meals. So I was trying to drink my water somewhere in between meals. So that was a little hard too. But again, I was so grateful, and I try to don't complain much, because every time I want to complain, I remember about my first pregnancy and I just feel so grateful. So that was very big difference, and yes, that made me think that I might be carrying a boy, because it was so much easier on me. Although on the internet people say a lot that with a boy your skin clears out and you don't have any acne and you glow, comparing to a pregnancy with a girl, which was not the case with this pregnancy. I still had my regular acne. Actually, I started having more of them because I started eating more unhealthy things. I wouldn't say that I just switched to eating, I don't know, like McDonald's and Taco Bell and cakes every day. No, it was not like that, but I started eating more sugar, like much more than I used to, and it definitely showed up on my face. I even talk about that in my first pregnancy appointment video, and I even assumed, if like, am I having a girl? Look at my face, you know? So a spoiler alert, in the second trimester updates I will be telling you that that glow, it came. I can tell you that my face is flawless and does not have any pimples. I do have a lot of pimples, but that has been with me all my life, and that's just, I have never taken care of that in a proper way, I guess. I have never digged deeply into it, maybe. And so I'm gonna be taking care of that after I'm done breastfeeding this baby. So it's probably mostly of the way I eat and the way I take care of my skin. But there is that glow. Like right now, in my second trimester, and it's been like that for like a month, I noticed that my skin glows. Like, that's hard to explain, but I kind of like look more beautiful or something. So there is that. And let me check in my notes. Okay, about aversions and foods that I liked. So I can't remember everything, and they have been changing, obviously. First thing I remember very well is that I was not, and I am still not, craving sweets as much and as often as I was with Michaela, which is also kind of a common sign for a boy pregnancy. I usually crave mostly savory foods and Mexican foods and Thai foods and something spicy and salty. Then another thing is coffee. With my first pregnancy and with my second, I started refusing coffee in my first trimester. Even going into my second, right now I already drink my coffee and I enjoy it, but even the smell of coffee, even going into Starbucks to pick up my husband's drink, it was hard for me. Funny part is that sometimes, even in my first trimester, I would have a couple of sips of my husband's sweet drink from Starbucks, but that still had coffee, like those holiday drinks, and it would affect me so much, just 2-3 sips of that coffee, that I wouldn't sleep until 2 in the morning. I was affected by coffee in this pregnancy so much more than ever, but I'm still kind of affected much more. And that was the same for like a black or green tea. If I would have some, I would stay awake. And I'm not telling you that I had it at like 8 p.m. If I would have it like at 4 p.m, even earlier than that, I would still be very like not energetic. Like, I would want to sleep and I'm tired, but I can't. So I had to cut that completely. Now I'm back at it. Now I need my coffee and I enjoy it, and I actually split them in like 2 cups. I have an espresso machine, so I do one shot of espresso for each cup. So whenever I want it, I kind of feel like I have 2 cups. This way I meet almost the limit of the intake of caffeine in pregnancy, about 1.5 cups of regular coffee, which is 2 cups is what's recommended, no more than 2 cups. So what else? Another funny thing, when I just got pregnant and I did not have my nausea yet, I bought a cup, a Halloween cup, like fall themed cup with some cute pumpkins on it. And I loved it, and it brought me joy. Like, I saw it and I was like, what a cute cup, I need to get this cup. Usually I don't do that. Like, if I don't go buying cups, I don't buy extra things. But I felt like it's gonna make me happy. And it did for a little bit, but then, girls, I still can't drink from it. Like, it makes me nauseous. That cup makes me nauseous. How funny is that, right? One more thing about sickness is that this time around, it was kind of coming and going, although I was still 24/7 not myself and feeling a little bit sick. By the way, I haven't thrown up once this time, but it felt like the nausea this time around was worse at night. How funny is that? Everybody calls it morning sickness, but for me, the first time around it was a whole day sickness, and this time around it was almost like nighttime sickness. So that's all about foods and nausea. Let's talk about my energy levels and how I handled Michaela. So the only way I would be able to get through my day and do just minimal of the things that I need to do, like essential things, taking care of her and the house just a little bit. I mean, like cooking, washing dishes. I'm not even talking about like cleaning much. I was just picking up whenever it was way too too bad. So I had to take a nap with her. Like I would go to put her for a nap, and I would just have to sleep with her, and that was helping me a lot. Sometimes we would sleep together for like 3 hours, because without me she only sleeps 1 hour, 1 hour and a half maximum, and with me sometimes she would sleep like 3 hours. But I would then get up and go film my video, for example, and have enough energy to talk. But actually you could probably see in those videos during the times that I'm kind of less energetic and more tired. So also I have been going to sleep during that pretty much whole first trimester, and even now kind of early, like 9-10 p.m. I was going to sleep with Michaela. So really I was sleeping a lot, just like with my first pregnancy, but this time I had to manage it. I couldn't just sleep whenever. And then obviously there was no exercise involved. By the way, there is still no exercise involved, but there is definitely more mobility and walks. With my first trimester, in my first trimester, I tried to take Michaela for walks, because I mean that's essential for everybody, especially for little kids. For toddlers, it was essential for my mental well-being. But sometimes it was so hard. It was so hard to just get out of the house and try to keep her away from troubles and just run after her everywhere she goes. But I did it, not as often as before, obviously, but I did it. So that was my little workout time, which we didn't even walk much. I was just sitting like that on the bench, or like next to a stroller, like just, it was funny. I was trying to just stop and like sit down somewhere. Probably was very noticeable for everybody who would be watching me walk with her. So I think I try to stretch sometimes, because funny fact, I started having my sciatica pain, almost like sciatica pain. I mean, it's definitely that sciatic nerve, but it's not as bad as it was in my third trimester with Michaela. But it's so surprising to me. Like my uterus wasn't even that big yet, and I started feeling it, like if I would stand up in the same position for too long, or if I lay in a certain position. So I've been doing some of those, my top 5 sciatic prenatal stretches, also stretches for my back, but not very often, only when I felt real need in it. So that's how I survived energy-wise. I just needed my sleep. And during the day when I'm not sleeping, I have been taking a lot of breaks. Like I would wash dishes and then I would like, I need to lay. I can't stand up anymore. I need to lay. So yeah, it was easier than the first time around with my nausea and energy levels. But there was definitely fatigue. There was definitely low energy. So but we made through it. I'm very proud of myself. I'm really glad I'm back into my normal energy levels almost. I still definitely feel that I'm pregnant, obviously, because there are so many new symptoms that come in. But another symptom that started very early this time around is frequent urination. I go to pee many times now, but it started actually in my first trimester. That was surprising for me. And of course, as almost every mom says, in the second pregnancy your belly grows so much faster, you start showing so much faster, which actually was fun, because the first time around, especially when you're, you know, your first time mom, you want to show off that you're pregnant. And especially I was pregnant during summertime with Michaela, so I was in that weird stage when you can't tell if the lady is pregnant or fat. But now I actually like being pregnant in like winter time, when you actually can cover that little bump that doesn't really look like a bump yet. So there is that. And let me check again what else I missed. Okay, while editing this, I remembered that I didn't tell you about my insanely vivid dreams in the first trimester, and most of them kept me up half of the night. I mean, I couldn't rest well. I would wake up. Some of them were just nightmares, but TMI, some of them had sexual context. And I know it's too much to share, but I want to know if I'm the only one. Well, I know I'm not the only one, but if you have ever experienced that in your pregnancy, let me know in the comments. I would love to see that other moms go through this too, because that made me really uncomfortable. So let's continue. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about my mental state as well. My mental state in my first pregnancy was hard, or I don't know how to explain that. So like I said, I was feeling even miserable sometimes because I didn't want to shower. I didn't have any energy, motivation to do anything. I was feeling sad, I would say, just because I was not myself. But I don't remember feeling down and like negative and mild depression, being mildly depressed. This pregnancy, especially in my first trimester, there were so many times when, yes, I felt unmotivated, but I also felt so down. And of course, there was a lot of mom guilt involved because Michaela had so much more screen time during this first trimester of my pregnancy, because I just couldn't make it. I couldn't do it any other way. I just didn't have enough energy to be active with her and playing with her. She almost never plays on her own, 15 minutes here and there, no, half an hour maximum through the day when she plays on her own. And I had to get things done, but I also wanted to rest, and when I'm with her, I need to be active. Like, she just doesn't want me to just sit there. She wants me to read and play and paint. And so maybe that mom guilt also contributed to my mental state, but it was hard. This first trimester mentally was harder than physically. And I was definitely not depressed. I even took a test online if I'm being depressed, because prenatal depression is real. And I would call it maybe mood swings, because one day I would be happy, the other day I would feel low, on and off. And there was no certain pattern to it, but it was hard. I still have some of those days sometimes, but I'm managing to get out of them. I don't know if it can be called depression, or it's just a sign of pregnancy, something many women go through. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever felt it. But like, it's not depression, but it's a severe mood swings. So I told you about that. And then I wanted to tell you about my cramps I have been feeling a couple of times. It was new for me first time around. I didn't feel that. A couple of times in my first trimester, I would feel very intense cramps for a long period of time in my lower belly, and that was concerning to me already. I would really worry. And in one of those videos I posted recently, I told you, I think it was in my pregnancy announcement, that this pregnancy I have been feeling much more concerned about everything and just scared, and those bad thoughts come to your mind. Honestly, with my first pregnancy, I was so like sure that everything's gonna be fine, and I think what contributes to it is the awareness that has been spreaded on the internet, awareness about miscarriages, awareness about stillbirths, about so many things out there that could happen to your pregnancy, especially in the beginning. And I literally have been hearing stories from one influencer, another influencer, all of those ladies, girls who I watch on YouTube and Instagram. Almost every third of them had some kind of miscarriage or even chemical pregnancy, which really made me realize that it's more common. And I love that they spread that support for women who go through the same things, but it definitely impacted me, and I try to just skip those stories and don't read through them and don't get emotional. But when I've been having those weird sensations in my belly, they were quite intense and they were concerning, but luckily everything is fine. So I guess that's just a normal sign of pregnancy. I also wanted to compare spotting during my first pregnancy. I had a lot of spotting during the 2-week wait, and then going into my 4th and 5th week, I think I had here and there some brownish discharge. This time around, I have only had one time in my first trimester somewhere, tiny, almost unnoticeable little brown spot on my underwear, and nothing else. So that was great. And that's funny, I just told you that I was so worried second time around, but not the first. But the first time around I was actually having those spottings. They were small, but they were like not regular, but they were there, and I was not concerned. And this time around everything was fine and I was concerned. Anyways, another thing that was the same for both pregnancies is breast tenderness. And as you might know, I have been breastfeeding my daughter for the first 7 weeks of my pregnancy, then I weaned her. And my breasts, I wouldn't say they were really tender, because now they are really tender and painful, and they increased in size in my second trimester already. But in the first trimester, they would be painful or sore one day here, one day there, but for the most part, they were fine. With Michaela's pregnancy, they start getting bigger and changing and hurting and heavy earlier, but there is a very small difference between in the symptom between those two pregnancies. So what else? I think that I started to feel better around 9 weeks, but I was not even nearly myself. I was still nauseous and energy levels were low, and I was still napping. And at around 10-11 weeks mark, I started to experience the shortness of breath, and that's when the frequent urination came also. And I have been feeling little by little better and better with my nausea and with my energy levels and with my moods all the way to the second trimester, but I did not hit my turning point until the beginning of second trimester, and I will tell you more about that in the next video, or not next particularly, but different video, where I will share about my second trimester, and I will try to do more frequent updates now that I have been feeling better. So I'm definitely, like I said, still pregnant, and I definitely feel that I'm not myself, you know, because I do still feel some aversions, and even that cups that makes me nauseous. That's so weird. So at least energy wise, I'm almost back to myself, and there are a ton of new symptoms and a ton of beautiful things that I can't wait to share with you. So definitely stay tuned. I hope this video was helpful and interesting. Let me know in the comments below, how is your pregnancy going? How is your first trimester? If you have any questions, maybe I forgot to cover something, leave them in the comments below as well. If you have any other video topic suggestions, also leave them in the comments, and make sure to give this video a like. This helps me tremendously. More moms will be able to see this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon, and make sure to come next week for the next video. Bye.